What up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy P. Skip. Welcome to the best half hour of your entire Tuesday. You know what time it is. It's time to get into his course. My squad with me, T-Mac.
Hola.
Chili Will.
Gracias, amigo.
Let's do this. So listen, let me read this. Isaiah 42 verses 13 and 14 states it like this. It says, the Lord will march out like a champion, like a warrior. He will stir up his zeal with a shout. He will raise the battle cry and with triumph over his enemies. For a long time, I have kept silent. I have been quiet and held myself back. But now, like a woman in birth, I will cry out, I will gasp, and I will pant. I said that because we have a AFC champion and a NFC champion in the NFL. Let's give a big shout out to not the New England Patriots, but not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm pretty proud of them. Big shout out to them. I really read this for the Eagles and mainly because of Jalen Hurts, because they have really dogged him out, talked negative about him. He's not a great quarterback. He's not this. He's not that. You know, he's everything that you don't want in a quarterback, but yet he's about to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm just loving the fact that he's a champion and everybody's talking what they were talking concerning him, and he proved them all wrong. And then on the other hand, you have such disrespect that was happening by Cincinnati against the Eagles that they called it
not the Eagles, the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. I'm sorry, the Chiefs. Instead of Arrowhead, they called it
Burrowhead.
Burrowhead, right. Burrowhead Field. I'm like, are you kidding me? And they were like, yep, he's going to get him. You know, Patrick Mahomes can't run. He's not going to be able to win this one. If he can't run, they can't win. He ended up winning the game on a run.
Yes.
With all that talking you said he couldn't do, when he needed to run, he did something that Aaron Rodgers wouldn't do. Put his body on the line to get to win a game. You know, hobbled it all, he did it. But let me say this. I do feel sorry for that young man, number 89, who pushed him while he was out of bounds to get them close enough to get the Chiefs close enough for a field goal. You could see after the game, all the fans left him, the players left him sitting on the field. Only one player came back to console that young man. That said a lot about that team. That, hey, all of y'all have made mistakes too, but didn't nobody leave you out there to live in it and to lie in it. And so, you know, to that I say, you know, thumbs down on that kind of stuff with Cincinnati. If he was good enough to ride with you to get there, then if he makes a mistake, he should be good enough to walk off the field with. You don't leave any man behind, you know. So go ahead, Will. I'll let you go next, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That was a bad play. You know, it was, you know, he got caught up in the moment, but that's not why they lost. That's not why they lost. It was a lot of things. And y'all know this. The last play always end up being, you know, the free throw you miss at the end of the game end up being the cause for the loss. But, you know, you missed 7 free throws in the first quarter, second quarter.
Right.
That's really why you lost. It's just the last thing that happened, the last thing that people see. A lot went on in that game that caused them to lose the game. That play right there was very unfortunate. Probably wouldn't have made the field goal, would have went into overtime. And then they still could have lost in overtime. So he didn't make them lose. You know, his play just was an untimely mistake. Right. And he's a very young man. And I watched the game. I don't know if y'all watched the game. He played an outstanding game.
Right.
He played an outstanding game, you know, and I like how he manned up. a couple of the players, in the locker room, a few players, I know that I seen one guy on his team standing there with him. It was like, I'm with you, bro. I don't know about everybody else. Then they had another player. They caught video of him being very angry and upset. Since then, he has come to his senses and have publicly apologized for his actions. So hopefully they can get past this. It was a tough game, but the reason why they lost wasn't because of that penalty. I mean, you looked at the game. It was maybe 6 or 7 times where they got the first down because of a penalty.
Right.
Right. So he didn't cause all those penalties. So it's a lot that happened in that game. It's unfortunate, but I think the young man can help. He can hold his head high, and his true teammates will rally around him, and we can move on. Cincinnati had a great season. The Chiefs had a lot to prove, a lot more to gain, and they went out and they did what they had to do. In particular, the quarterback, like you said, Skip, putting his body on the line when he had to in order to make it to the next phase. That was true leadership, and that was being a true hero. So I respect Patrick Mahomes for that. I can't say enough about how he played and how he competed, even with his body not being 100%.
Yeah. T-Mac.
Yeah, I concur with everything that you both have, just said. I think that the game was really significant for Kansas City, given that they, have been in the AFC Championship, maybe 5 times, 3 in the last, 4 years. I mean, this was a real big game for them. They had been 0-3 in their previous games against Cincinnati. Joe Burrow was the only quarterback in the league that was undefeated against Patrick Mahomes. And I think that, scripture says in the Bible that haughtiness comes before a fall. Right. And I think they got too prideful and talking trash, as you mentioned, Pastor Skip, calling it Burrowhead Stadium as opposed to Arrowhead, and props to Joe Burrow and he owns this thing. Hey man, y'all still got to play against some grown men who got Super Bowl, hardware under their belt. Y'all don't have it yet. So we see y'all, up and coming. You got a bright future. Despite that last play from the young man, as you guys have mentioned, they went to the Super Bowl last year, went to the AFC Championship this year, and knocked off the preseason favorite to win the Super Bowl on the road, the Buffalo Bills. So they are, a good team. It's just not automatic. And that's why we play the game. To where all the huffing and puffing, we don't mind trash talking, but you got to back it up too. And I think Kansas City gave just enough to win the game. I think Patrick Mahomes did demonstrate leadership characteristics, a toughness, really galvanized his team. Another thing, he's been really doing it all year. Me personally, I didn't think they'd be able to be quite as successful this year because they didn't have Tyreek Hill. And I thought he was the number 1 playmaker in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes' most dangerous target. And so what he was able to do with that team and lead them as far as they've gone to the Super Bowl with pretty much a new receiving core, except for Travis Kelce. And I think they had one other holdover from their receiver cores from last year. So they started with a whole fresh batch. And I think what he did in the offseason was he went to those guys, let them know what is expected, what the culture is like here, and worked out with them. So by the time they got to the season, they had some camaraderie and chemistry, as well as let them know that he was welcoming them to the fold and to the family. Unlike our Aaron Rodgers, which what we thought he'd be able to do or would be willing to do, particularly having lost a big gun like Devontae Adams. So hats off to Kansas City.
The biggest gun.
The biggest gun. There you go. My bad for the verbal faux pas. Thank you for that correction, gun. Sir.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for Kansas City. I mean, I think their entire staff is great. Andy Reid is a great coach. He's been successful at every stop that he's been in. I think they're likable guys. Patrick Mahomes is a very, very humble guy, similar to Giannis, a real big star, outsized star, but really has a down-to-earth personality, which makes them easy to root for. I was hoping that they were going to win. I didn't want Cincinnati to own them like they were looking like they had been, but even those games were close. The last 2 games prior to this playoff games had identical scores of 27-24, and Kansas City had the lead in both games going into the fourth quarter. So it was somewhat Kansas City lost those games as opposed to Cincinnati beating them. But, whoever gets the W, they are the winner.
Right.
Similar to what just happened in this playoffs that we saw recently. So I really appreciate Kansas City. It was great for them to win. I'm also, really delighted for Jalen Hurts on the other side of the ball. I'm glad that defense came out and dominated San Francisco. Nobody really gave them a chance. And Jalen Hurts, as you talked about, Patrick Skip, have been getting, pot shots adding, all since he's been in the NFL. But even before then, in college, he started as a freshman and did great work. His starting record is like 26-2 in a college career. That was at Alabama before he transferred over to Oklahoma and was a Heisman candidate. So he's been really just a hard worker. He just put his head down and just went to work, didn't flap off at the mouth, didn't lose his composure. And as a young guy, that really is commendable for him to have that level of maturity and tenacity and resilience to continue to push forward in the face of naysayers and doubters. So the success that he had this year, on top of leading the team to the playoffs, that was very, very underreported last year. Usually when a quarterback leads your team to the playoff, they become a bona fide upper echelon quarterback because not all teams get to the playoffs. And he outdid himself with this year's performance and may be the leading candidate for MVP. And en route to that, in addition to the impressive win that they had against San Francisco, he also is the youngest quarterback in Eagles history to reach a Super Bowl and has the most wins by any Eagles quarterback in their history with their 16 or 17-1 record. So, you got to give a joker his props. The Bible said give credit to where it's due. You know what I'm saying? Give honor to those who deserve it. So he really, really deserved it as leading that team. And as much props as the NFL and other pundits give to the quarterback, he should be heaped on with as much praise as others have to be able to accomplish what he's done, not just in and of itself, but in the face of withering criticism and doubts for all folks. He has a Rocky Balboa almost story. So it's fitting that he's in Philadelphia leading the team to the Super Bowl first time, in about 5 years or so for that. So it's going to be a great game. I like both teams. I would like to see either one of them win. You got two black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, maybe for the first time in history. So it's going to be great. But that Eagles defense was a little bit better and more dominant than I thought they were. I knew they were good. I didn't know they were that menacing. They knocked out the little quarterback, Brock Purdy, and his backup came and they knocked him out too. So that's some tough, hard-nosed football. They aren't playing no games. They're going to be ready to play. Kansas City is too. I'm sure they appreciate going back to the Super Bowl. So it's gonna be a great, great game. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm very, very happy for both franchises and both starting quarterbacks being able to play on the game's biggest stage.
There was another thing that also that happened right after the championship with Kansas City, and they were interviewing Mahomes. And he said, out of his words, God is good, ain't he? He healed me so I could play football.
Wow. Praise the Lord. I missed that post-game interview.
Yeah, he said it. He said, Lord healed me so I could play this game. And so I'm like, okay, I see what God is doing with all these injuries and whatnot.
Yeah, because you guys both know we've had high ankle sprain. That's 2 weeks minimum.
Minimum.
Facts.
That's 2 weeks minimum. For him to be ready in this amount of time, I didn't know how he was going to do it. I'm going to be honest. It can't be nothing but God. I want to also just add this in because all three of us are fathers. All three of us have sons. And shout out to Patrick Mahomes' dad and Jalen Hurts' dad, because these are two men who were raised by Black fathers in their life, in their home. Black fathers get a bad rep. I ain't gonna say it's not deserved. A lot of times, fathers don't get an opportunity to raise their young men like we have been blessed to be able to do. And they have had that blessing also, and they have raised some great young men, some great leaders. So shout out to those Black dads who, unofficially we're in the fraternity with when it comes to raising Black boys and getting in their rites of passage and providing guidance for them to go from boys to men. Shout out to Black daddies.
Amen. Shout out Black fathers.
Shout out. And listen, switching gears a second, man. The Bucks have looked really good since the big three have been playing consistently. I didn't think they were going to gel this well. You know, Giannis just dropped 50 on the Pelicans.
In 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And it looked effortlessly. It looked effortless. So, but you know, the NBA right now, you know, I'm not a Lakers apologist. I'm really not. But something has to be done with this reffing in the NBA right now. The fact that you're allowed to have instant replay, and during that Boston Celtics Lakers game, it was an obvious foul on LeBron that was not called. And it literally altered the game, actually altered the outcome of that game. It would have probably been a Lakers win had they made that call that should have been made. But what I've been noticing is not only has there been a lot of missed calls, but there have been, I don't think I've ever seen these many technical fouls called in the league since I've been watching it, and for little or nothing. The NBA and its refs are becoming too dependent on giving out technical fouls. Technical fouls should be given, but when necessary. Believe it or not, a technical foul can swing the momentum of a game, and we know this.
Steph just got kicked out for throwing his mouthpiece, not at the referee, just out of frustration. They kicked the man out the game for that. Come on, that's the face of the league. What are y'all doing?
Again, too many technical fouls. It's seen enough technical fouls for no reason or no purpose throughout my days of watching. I'm like, what is that a foul for? What's that a tech for? You know, players are getting technical fouls for laughing on the bench and even giving high fives. I've seen technicals for high fives.
Wow.
And laughing on the bench. Technical fouls are given out to players based upon a referee's emotions as well. If a referee is feeding off of the crowd's applauding or approval, there is a chance that a player could be ejected with 2 technical fouls if a player keeps going on with an argument. The problem with technical fouls is, and this is what I don't like, is they're based upon the feelings and the however the referee wants to deem it a technical foul.
He has too much discretion.
Way too much, man. And it's altering one, the flow of the game. We've seen Brooke get called for techs for nothing. Literally nothing. I'm like, so he got a tech for going, that's tech worthy. So now you're saying refs, players, you cannot rebut anything we say. You can't talk about us. You can't have no emotions about anything we say or do. If you do, you're going to get a tech. And if we feel like you're making too much of it, we're going to throw you out the game. And to me, that should be an Adam Silver going, wait a minute. Y'all done took this way too far. We do understand that we want to eliminate some of the stoppages of the game, some of the emotion of the game, but we don't want AI out there. We want players with emotions, who are excited about what they're doing and who are showing it and who are bringing the crowd in with them, versus these referees going, wait a minute, that's too much emotion. You can't have that on the floor. You can't be excited about dunking on somebody. You can't be excited about a great block shot or a great steal. You can't be excited about a great 3. You cannot rebut a bad call. To me, it's really messing up what the NBA is supposed to be, what we grew up seeing, and what has made these players so much money and such big stars that's made them international. And I don't know if maybe what they're doing is trying to go, okay, if I take these players out from being individuals then I can control their income. I don't know what the mindset is on the NBA on what they're doing, but whatever it is, I really do not like what they're turning the game into. Tim, we'll let you go first because I know Will got plenty to say about it.
I'll be brief. I mean, I agree. I think that the whistles have been a little quick to be utilized, and that I know that they kind of bifurcated between a flagrant 1 technical and flagrant 2, and these different type of categories, which I think was designed to give the refs a little bit more, as we'll call, discretion with what they deem in their subjective judgment to be worthy of a technical, as opposed to a common foul, or even just a warning of, hey, player, back up, hush, before you get a technical, little warning piece. And so it has disrupted, the game some, but it could be that they're trying to overdo it now as we get into the playoffs, so the players will be conditioned and they will be able to kind of reel some things in, knowing that the refs have a quick whistle. I think the challenge is that as, the stakes have gotten higher, the players have gotten better, more athletic, and that there is more of a desire to win, it's going to be hard to mute that emotion, particularly when you are playing in a highly competitive environment. And as time goes on in the season, when you go from round to round in the playoffs and things get heated, now they added the little tournament play-in kind of a deal. I think it's kind of counterproductive to say, hey, we're going to put all these additional competitive measures into the game to make it more exciting, make it more worth your while. However, you have to mute your emotions while you're doing it. I think that's counterproductive, and it's kind of an oxymoron. Perhaps the NBA's Players Association can come in, have that, meeting with, Commissioner Silver, and they can get this kind of reeled in a bit, because the refs are getting a little bit too big for their britches. People come to the games not to see the refs, or even to see the refs officiate the game. We come for the players. So while you have a role to play your role, but don't play it to the detriment of the overall quality of the product that you have on the court, which is indeed, the players. And so given that LeBron James call that Jason Tatum fouled him on, and he didn't get it at the end of the game, the league has since come back and made an official, announcement that there was a blown call, there was an error. I don't think they like having to do that or to do that. So maybe that can be kind of a catalyst to them reining in the refs, letting the players get more away with a little more expression of emotions and not being so quick with the whistle. But we'll have to see over the course of the remainder of the season.
It's a lot of things I do have to say about this, Skip and Kim.
Do it.
One of the things I have to say about this is, both of you said this, we pay our money to come see the players.
Mm-hmm.
How you gonna throw Steph Curry, who's not known for being a belligerent person, not known for being over emotional? He's not one who tried to belittle and play up the refs. He just was mad because one of his teammates, he was wide open and he missed him, and he showed some frustration by throwing his mouthpiece out, not at anybody, just at the floor. And you kick Steph Curry out of the game, and there's some people, this was their very first time coming to see Steph Curry. And y'all know how much money it costs to see Steph Curry.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not for the fans. That's the problem. Y'all mentioned Brooke Lopez. Brooke Lopez ain't known for being no Draymond Green type person or antagonist or argue with the refs and all that. He pretty much played the game for years. I don't even, he might got a tech or two, but he ain't never got thrown out the game. And you just throw this man out the game like he's super expendable. You can't throw certain people out the game because for certain teams, game over.
Right.
You throw the Joker out the game because the Joker wanted an explanation of what the foul was. You threw him out the game. Denver is not the same team anymore. You throw Giannis out on some mess, the Bucks not the same team. Even with the call with LeBron James against Boston. Now that, Tim, you mentioned this, they have that play-in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 wins is the difference between you being in the play-in tournament,
Mm-hmm.
in the regular playoffs, or out of the play-in tournament and out of the playoffs.
Facts.
Right.
1 or 2 wins. I mean, if you look at the West right now, if you go on a 4-game winning streak, you can go from 11th place to 5th place.
Right.
That's how close it is. So when you start making people lose because the referee got an ego issue, like you can't talk to me like that, or you done said too much. Man, hold on, ref. Ain't nobody came to see you. You know, did anybody come to see you, Otis? All right. So that right there is a huge problem. It's not a little problem. It's a huge problem because it impacts revenue. It impacts ticket sales. It impacts players being all conference or not, meeting some of their milestones in order to get incentives, which is in their contract. Incentives.
Yeah.
It impacts all of that just because the referee had a bad day with their spouse or their partner or whoever they was with. That's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is have a competitive game, and we need it to be decided by the play on the floor. And if you dunk on somebody or block somebody's shot, you're supposed to be emotional. I like how Bobby Portis get the crowd involved and be excited. But y'all know, if you get you somewhere on the road or whatever, and you get a ref that's had a bad day, or something didn't go right with him and his child or whatever, Bobby Portis could be thrown out the game for being Bobby Portis.
Exactly.
This is crazy. This is insane, man. Something needs to be done about this.
Why don't we start a petition up and put it out on the internet and have folks sign it? Let us get a couple of million signatures. I bet the NBA will do something about it then.
Well, Pastor Skip, you being the leader of this show, and Tim and I have no problem and have all the confidence in the world in your leadership.
Right. And we'll be your first signatories to that petition.
Hey, 1 or 2, and we'll flip a coin and see which one of us go first.
But
I said, let's do it. But I'm going to tell you something else, too, along those lines, and I'm going to work with my daughter Peyton on this. That load management thing and how they not have star players playing. I was so mad that the Joker didn't play, Porter Jr. didn't play, Murray didn't play. They only come once a year. I'm gonna find out which games that the NBA charge more money for. And if y'all charging us more money because these players are coming, if these players don't play, y'all need to give us our money back. And I'm quite sure that it's a lawyer that's sophisticated enough that can come in and figure out this is fraud.
Right.
This is stealing.
That's
You charged me for a hamburger and you gave me a grilled cheese sandwich, and you charged me the same price because y'all didn't have no more beef patties. That's BS. I want to start a petition. I want to start a petition about that because it's crazy. Even tonight, you got AD and LeBron James sitting out the game in Brooklyn. They play in the West. They only go to Brooklyn one time a year, and ain't neither one of them hurt. We just seen them play in an overtime game. They both fine. They played to the end. Oh, we ain't gonna play them because of load management. Man, the NBA is stealing and taking advantage of the fans, and this needs to stop. It really does need to stop.
I agree 100%. Now maybe you should start that petition.
I will. I'll take it as a directive from our leader, and I will do just that.
And we'll flip a coin or he'll sign first.
Right.
I'll even get my wife to sign.
Okay, if you get her to sign, she got to be first since she's the first lady.
We'll make it happen.
All right.
Another great show. Meet us right back here every Tuesday night from 7 to 7:30. Same bat time, same bat channel for the #1 faith-based sports talk show in the entire world, Into a Sport. Until next week, have an amazing week. Peace.